Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Jason Kaja. Today is day 6 of building our personal constitution. We are focusing on grounding article number 3, interacting with anger. Just like our last video, interacting with sadness, we are going to be incorporating EFT tapping, thinking about our inner child, and allowing them to know that this is a safe space. So first things first, you of course close your eyes. Think about a time when you were very angry as a child or even as an adult that you still remember. It's the first thing that comes to your mind. It just boils your blood. And tell your inner child that this is a safe space for them to feel that anger and that no one's going to judge them or hate them or think they're a bad person, because some people do have a negative relationship with anger and think that people will not like them anymore if they feel those emotions. So tell yourself, it's okay. Safe, I'm not going to judge you, and I love you regardless. If you're having trouble getting through those experiences and emotions, you can start EFT tapping. I don't remember the abbreviation, which I should learn it, but who cares? You guys can use Google. But EFT tapping, you find where you feel your emotions and you tap in that area to kind of bring it out. You will experience crying. Sometimes you'll get super emotional. You need to take a break, but you want to talk through those emotions. Say what happened. Say how you feel. Say how it's affected you now and what you plan on doing to change it. So for me, I tap my chest. You can tap lightly. You can tap pretty heavy. You can tap fast. You can tap slow, like whatever helps you work through it. I know a lot of people like to tap around their eyes or their forehead. Some like to, I don't know how people do it on their hands. Like, that's weird to me. Oh, well, no, let me not judge you guys. But you can tap anywhere where you feel it. As I mentioned in my last video, often for women, we hold our emotion in our hips. Sometimes you can just try to tap your hips or tap your legs to get that emotion out if that's where you feel it the most. Anywhere you feel that emotion, tap on it, talk through it. A little FYI, I am creating a personalized affirmation app, and if you haven't done so already, go to my description box, join our emailing listing if you're interested for when it comes out, and to answer my survey so I understand what your needs are. Thank you, I love you, and let's continue with the rest of the video. You want to ask yourself, how often do you experience anger and what causes it? Every instance you can think about when you're angry, what is a common theme that you see? I know for me, when I experience anger, it's usually caused by feeling not prioritized or forgotten. It pisses me off. And I sometimes let it overtake me and I shut people out and I'm like, you know what? I'm good off you and you're cut from my life, like forever, right? Which it has served me really well in my life, because more often than not, people do need to get cut off. But other times I'll hold on to that emotion and I'll just be so angry. Another thing I feel anger about is feeling like I have to do everything, or that I can't rely on you but you can rely on me, that you or someone asks me to do more than they ask the other people around them. That also pisses me off. And once I'm able to address, okay, how that anger comes around, or like what causes it, how does it affect me? Well, I sometimes feel like I want to punch a wall. I'm not really like that anymore. I feel like I used to be really aggressive, and it just wasn't cute. It wasn't good. And I actively made the effort to be more understanding, to be more patient. Still working on it. Don't try me. But it is a work in progress. I now am able to let things go regarding my anger a lot easier, because I'm like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to be angry. And I'll never shame myself for being angry, ever. And it's okay to let it go, and it's okay to let them go. One thing that I live by is forgive and forget. Forgive the person, forget the person. And I know some people may not agree with that, but when I feel disrespected to a certain degree, I value my time so much. And if I am choosing you to be in my life and you disappoint me to the utmost degree, you gotta go. I forgive you, but you gotta go. You gotta go. I'm not telling everyone else you need to do that. That's just how I am. That's just how I'm wired. And that's how I'm able to really deal with that anger, because once I'm looking at that person, it's like I remember it and I'm like, I don't want to be angry again. And if I'm choosing to have you in my life, you gotta go. Now for the people that I can't choose to be in my life, I address it immediately. and I reevaluate our relationship. I'm like, okay, well, now I know these are certain things I can't do, say, or present around you. Otherwise, you will disappoint me again. And I'm able to reconfigure my relationships with people so that way, you know what, it's fine. I never expected that from you anyway, and I already adjusted our relationship to where it's not my top priority. And that's okay. Some people don't need to be important in your life all the time. They serve their purpose, and it's okay to let it go. The next thing you want to talk about, which I feel like I may have touched on base when I was talking about how I feel, is when you feel anger, how does it affect you? Is it passing? Is it crippling? For me, it could be in between and depending on what it is. I learned the art of truly just letting people go, and it has been the best thing I could ever do. And when you're dealing with someone you obviously can't just completely exit out your life, like a sibling or a parent, you just have to redefine your relationship with them. It doesn't have to be the same way. You don't have to force a certain type of expectation on them if they just don't meet it. Just say, okay, well, you don't meet these expectations, therefore you are no longer eligible for certain benefits. In conjunction to that, do you idolize or put your anger on a pedestal? Some people just love to be angry all the time. They love to find something to be mad about. They love something to just say negative things. You don't want to be that person. You don't want anger to be your neutral state of emotion. Like, oh, I'm just naturally angry all the time. That's not nice. That's not good. Another thing, the next thing that you want to address is, do you reward or punish yourself for feeling angry? For instance, for punishing yourself. Some people, when they feel angry, they will completely forget about their anger and try to shove it down and appease that person to make sure that they don't dislike them or they're not unhappy with them or whatever, and like be a people pleaser. That's punishing yourself, and that's something you really need to work on. But on the flip side, rewarding. Some people are so happy when they're angry. It's like, oh, well, I knew you were gonna do this, so now I have X, Y, Z, A, B, C, elemental P planned out to fuck you up. Okay, why did you have that all planned out? You're obviously excited and rewarding yourself for being angry and rewarding yourself for being prepared that someone did you wrong. That's not good. That's not good. And I feel like we all do that to a certain degree. Maybe not to that degree, but a little degree, you know, like where you over plan in your head of like, okay, if they do this, this is what I'm gonna do. That's why having those boundaries and standards, which we'll talk about in our relationship section, friendship, family, romantic, career, all that, professional, all that stuff. It's good to have those standards and boundaries so you're not constantly thinking about your exit plan of what you need to do if this negative thing happens. You just know your worth and say, okay, I said it one time. I know that if this happens, I'm out. You're no longer rewarding or punishing yourself for having or for expressing anger. You're just acting on it. You're like, okay, I already know what I need to do. I know how to process this. I know how to forgive, and I know how to let go. Get out of here. Get out of here. And of course, the last two things you want to do is explain why you won't idolize your anger, or why you won't punish or reward yourself for your anger. And what positive ways will you interact with anger? Like, what are, not gonna say remedies, but certain rituals that you can do for yourself to alleviate that anger and give yourself a clear mind to work through it, to breathe through it, to feel it, and let it go. One way I absolutely love to do to let go of my anger is I go for a walk. I go for a walk. It's a lot more efficient than running for me, because running I'm out of breath, and then at the end of it I'm still angry. I just can't run anymore. Walking allows me to think about it, to talk about it, to scream about it, to cry about it, to like just let it go. Even thinking about anger is like frustrating, but to let it go. And there was some times where I'm walking for 3 hours. Yeah, it's like, oh, you were angry that whole time, right? And then that last hour was actually me feeling good, but I needed to feel good for about an hour in this wonderful weather. So do what you need to do. Is that journaling? Is that walking? Is that EFT tapping? Is that meditating? Is that watching your favorite comfort movie, Twilight? Is it talking to friends and family? What is it? Do it. As mentioned before, for all the emotional based grounding articles, you want to, of course, promise your younger self, your inner child, that you are a safe space. And you can do this one time, especially if you did it in the sadness section. You don't have to redo it again. But if you find yourself like, oh, there's something else I want to add to it in the sadness section. Promise your inner child that you are a safe space, that you are loving, that you are understanding, and you won't punish them for how they feel. And of course, then you want to write down how you interact with anger. Do you put on a pedestal? Do you punish or reward yourself? In what ways will you positively interact with anger? Write everything down that we talked about that you feel is necessary to be in your personal constitution. This could be very short. This could be very long. Whatever you need to do to truly set the tone for how you will navigate through your anger, do it. Thank you for watching my video. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.